Well, next, a mum of 3 from Yorkshire has bravely spoken out to Calendar about her 22-year battle to break her addiction to tranquilizers.
Yes, Sandra Minshall is just one of an estimated 2 million people in the UK who are thought to be addicted to tablets prescribed by medics.
Well, for many, a tiny pill that was meant to provide relief and comfort has in fact robbed them of their well-being and peace of mind. Well, now Sandra hopes her story may just inspire others whose lives have been blighted by prescription drugs to seek help. Her story is the latest in our series, Addiction and Me.
Basically, it's robbed me of my life, takes away your emotions, and you're just walking around in a daze. I just used to think I was going to die.
Sandra Minshall has spent decades as a drug addict. She doesn't inject herself with heroin or snort cocaine, but Sandra is one of tens of thousands of perfectly law-abiding people who've spent a lifetime in the grip of prescribed drugs.
22 years of addiction, and it's like living in a world of grey, and then you finally come off the drug, and it's like everything lights up. Colours are too bright, noises are too loud, and you just think, I'm going mad.
Sandra, a married mum of 3 who lives in Tingley in West Yorkshire, was 14 when she had an operation for an overactive thyroid. Unbeknown to her, a gland that regulates calcium in the body was damaged. Sandra, who had hopes of becoming a nurse, began to suffer symptoms including shaking, major anxiety, limb aches and jitteriness. The panic attacks continued until eventually she was prescribed the drug Ativan, which also goes by the pharmaceutical name lorazepam.
At my lowest point, I just used to think I was going to die. I'd say for the first 5-6 weeks after the operation, some part of every day, I just thought, I'm going to die, they're going to let me die, nobody's helping me. And then I went on the lorazepam, which took those thoughts away. But the trouble was, it took every other thought away as well.
Sandra wasn't alone. Whole swathes of society, often young women, were given repeat prescriptions of the drug again and again and again. Like its better-known cousin Valium, Ativan was viewed by many in medicine as mother's little helper. When it was first marketed in the mid-1970s, there were no warnings to doctors that Ativan might be addictive or produce serious side effects. As early as 1980, a study from Nottingham University reported withdrawal problems with all the tranquilizers called Benzodiazepines and more serious problems with Ativan. The controversy prompted a huge public outcry. In 1988, ITV's The Cook Report confronted the then boss of the US drugs firm which made Ativan.
I'm here to talk to you about Ativan.
Listen, get off the golf course. Get off this golf course. Get off this golf course.
I'm here to talk about Ativan.
Get off this golf course.
Would you let the microphone go?
Get off this golf course. This is
Why?
private property.
Yeah, but this is a very important subject.
A legal claim by some patients at the time against the firm was thrown out by the courts. What doctors now know is that in most cases Ativan should be prescribed for no more than 4 weeks or for certain medical conditions. But many patients like Sandra have spent years trapped by the tranquilizer and battling the withdrawal symptoms when they come off it.
How are you today? Not too bad. I mean, I was really stressed last night.
She's now been helped by Deborah Fielding at a charity in Bradford called the Bridge Project. It's one of just a handful of organisations across the country which offers help to those addicted to both illegal and prescription drugs.
I mean, it's absolutely horrendous, because you would take a drug expecting to feel right, expecting it to take the anxiety away, and it didn't. All it did was stop the withdrawal symptoms. So if I did have a panic attack or acute anxiety attack, I would have to take extra. We really all need to get on board with supporting these people to reduce from these benzodiazepines. They become redundant after a few years really, but the answer is not to stop them suddenly, but to reduce slowly off them, which is where I come in and offer support.
At the time, doctors, they just didn't realise how harmful these drugs were. These people were issued repeat prescriptions, and today we're seeing people 30 years later, 40 years later, whose lives have been absolutely destroyed by dependence on these drugs.
Sandra has now virtually weaned herself off the tiny tablet that's ruled her life for over 4 decades. This year, she's only had to resort to taking 0.5 milligram of Ativan on 2 separate occasions. She's now looking to a brighter future. Her hope is by sharing her story, it may inspire others who are still suffering in silence.
If I can change one person's life by doing this interview, then it's worth it.
Sandra Minchell speaking to John Hill, and if you or your family are affected by any of the issues in our report, you can go to our website for a list of organisations that offer help.